Hey everyone, I'm Foz, your Cam, and I'm here as always with my co-host Will. How you doing today, Will?
I'm doing great, Cam. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic, and we've got another special guest this week. Daniel is here joining the show, and we have a lot of great topics really to break down today. A lot of which are helped because Daniel is here and can bring his own angle of expertise to these specific topics. And yeah, I'm sure it'll be a great addition to the show. Daniel, how are you doing today?
Great. Good first day back. Been here once before and absolutely excited to be here again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. I'm very excited for this episode. So, right off the bat, I wanted to talk about something we briefly kind of touched on, I believe, was the movie F1, which came out pretty fairly recently. It's starring Brad Pitt, and it's just a pretty big summer blockbuster movie, and it's something that we've all seen here. So, quickly, I'll give my thoughts. I thought this was a really fun film. Definitely didn't live up to the expectations I had. I was sort of expecting it to be on the level of something like Top Gun Maverick, just given it's the same director. But it just wasn't. It didn't quite hit that level, which, I don't think it could have. You have to take into account that Top Gun was already a franchise and it also has Tom Cruise and it's kind of been a thing. So you didn't really have to worry about establishing these characters and starting a whole new story as much in that movie. Whereas in this F1, it's a whole new story, whole new characters, so you have to spend some time introducing that. And that can kind of cause the plot to drag, I feel like. But aside from that, those were only minor complaints. It was a very fun movie, especially if it's viewed in IMAX. I think it's a totally different experience if you see the film in IMAX. It just looks great on the big screen, especially the racing scenes look epic. I thought it was just completely incredible how they shot some of these scenes, especially if you look into the technical aspect, and then you'll find out that they actually sort of invented a new way to shoot movies in the way that these cameras need to fit inside of F1 cars, which before this film was almost an impossible task, but they were able to develop systems and new technology to allow them to get to capture all these insane moments inside of these cars. And it's sort of an upgrade for what they did with the planes in Top Gun Maverick, but just this time with the F1 cars. I thought Brad Pitt was really, really good in this movie. He's such a charismatic actor for sure. And, in any movie he's gonna be in, I'm probably gonna enjoy a Brad Pitt performance. But that being said, I think a standout for me, and like I said, I kind of don't want to even say Brad Pitt for this because he's just gonna be good in everything, but Javier Bardem was fantastic in this movie. I thought he brought a sense of levity to the movie that I think it kind of needed. Not to say that it's a dark movie or anything, but his character, you kind of just, he's one of those characters you kind of feel good with. Like, you're always confident in him that he's going to make the right decision. Um, so for that, I really appreciate it. And he's good in every film he's in. Specifically, you see him in No Country for Old Men, which is a modern-ish day classic, and his role in Dune is obviously major, and he's great in both of those movies. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed this film, but definitely didn't totally meet my expectations, but still an enjoyable watch. Daniel, how about you?
Yeah. Personally, I've watched this two times now and
Oh wow.
I have loved it each time. Um, as you said, definitely was not up to Top Gun level. Um, but yeah, it was really good. I rewatching it actually really helps since there's just some cool little cameos they put in and just they hinted from the beginning of the movie like everything that was going to happen at the end with all the stuff Hayes was having with nightmares. He had that was led up to Joshua's crash, and then um he like a lot of the time it'd focus on his back, and honestly, I was the first time I watched it, I had no clue until the end of the movie. And also at the very beginning, they were looking at a map and it actually showed where he was going to end up at the end of the movie. And I just saw all those little hints and stuff they were putting throughout the movie. It was really cool. I loved all that. One of my favorite people in the movie and actors, as of course, as you said, Brad Pitt is amazing. Damian Idris, though, who played Joshua Pierce, I
Hmm.
found him surprisingly enjoyable. I was expecting just to be it to be Brad Pitt who carried it, but Damon to Damonson's credit, um, it was great. I loved his performance.
I did too, and I'm excited to see more of him in Hollywood because I feel like he's a relatively new actor in these big Hollywood blockbusters. So I'm actually really interested to see kind of what he does next because I'm sure after a movie which had as much success as this did, I'm sure he'll have another very big role down the line. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what he does.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Will?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the things that you guys are saying. And when I was at the theater with Daniel watching this film, like when I first started to watch it, I was like, okay, like this is definitely not Top Gun Maverick. You know, Top Gun Maverick is definitely a better film than this. But then as I continued to watch it, what I zeroed in on was, know what? I don't think this film is trying to be Top Gun Maverick. Like I think Top Gun Maverick was trying to be like a great, masterful action drama, and that's what I think it was. I think they pulled it off incredibly successfully. But when I was watching F1, what I came to realize was I don't think this movie's trying to be a great film. I don't think this movie is trying to be Top Gun Maverick. I think it's just trying to be a fun, decent summer movie. And I feel like from that standpoint, they definitely pulled that off. It was a very fun movie to watch. So I'm not saying that people making movies aren't trying to make them great, but I feel like this film wasn't trying to be this masterpiece Top Gun Maverick level movie. I feel like it was going for more of the fun, decent summer movie vibe, and I think they definitely pulled that off.
For sure, yeah. And I can totally see that angle. And I do agree with you, it wasn't trying to exactly be that. But I think, honestly, maybe if it tried to be a little bit more like Maverick, I would have enjoyed it more. But then again, it gets to a point where what's even the point of watching if it's just going to be the same movie, essentially, that you have seen before, you know? So I definitely see what you're saying, Will, for sure. But I also wanted to take a chance to talk about something that I'm actually kind of interested in, and I could see it going both ways. Um, that is the Punisher TV special coming to Disney Plus. Do we have a date for this, Will?
Oh, we don't have a specific date for it, but I think it should be coming next year.
Okay. All right. So I am actually a huge fan of the concept of Marvel doing these specials. I think they should do them more often. I think it's a good way to take advantage of the Disney Plus whole aspect. And I think it's clear that these short films just haven't been, not short films, TV series haven't been working. But when you look at every single special presentation, they're all really well reviewed. I mean, there aren't many of them, sure, but the ones that are there are very well reviewed. And when you think about it, yeah, obviously it's going to be well reviewed. It's a good way to take a more minor Marvel character that you want to introduce, you don't want to throw them in a movie, and you don't think they have the material to flesh out a whole show, so that would make you want to do a special presentation. This brings me to kind of a complaint I'm having with the TV shows, which obviously we've addressed before, and everyone online has pretty much had some things to say about it. But I feel like something like Echo would have been majorly improved if it was a special presentation or whatever instead of a TV show. I just think there wasn't nearly enough information and enough really that we cared about. We didn't really care about Echo totally, and the show didn't really make us care about Echo. Um, so I think a special presentation would have been perfect. You could have started it. I mean, I don't like to claim I can um, write this better than the people who wrote the show, but I mean, I have ideas, right? I think you could have worked in her origins, her family, into the beginning of the show, and you could have worked in some of the stuff from the finale, specifically the Fisk stuff. You could have made that the central driving force and made it pretty relatively quick, maybe like 50 minutes rather than these ridiculously, some of them boring episodes, some of them just bad episodes of television. I think we would have been way better off with that. That being said, it's sort of the opposite for the Punisher, right? When you think about it, I mean, he's not only has he had his own show, two seasons, right? Well,
Yes.
two seasons of his own show on Netflix, and then a major role in Daredevil, major role, or would you say in a major role in Born Again? I haven't watched it yet.
I would say major role in the final episode.
Okay, so he definitely plays a part in this new era of street level Marvel. He's not getting his own TV show. He's getting a special presentation. And now it's like Marvel's getting confused. I feel like I'd be fine with another season of Punisher, and I wouldn't be fine with another season of Echo or She-Hulk or whatever. Those should be what we're getting for special presentations. But like I said, this whole format still intrigues me, and the fact that everything we've gotten so far has been good, it gives me hope. So I'm sure this will be a concise story that updates us on the Punisher. And I mean, I have to admit, obviously, that I mean, I'm just not very well versed when it comes to the Punisher. I really am not. I mean, I've watched Daredevil seasons one and most of two, and I know he plays obviously a big part in that. But aside from season two of Daredevil, I haven't seen a single episode of the show. Don't even remotely know what the show could be about. Haven't watched Born Again, so I mean, I'm not familiar with this character, but I'm still intrigued. And if I'm intrigued about this character and I haven't seen any really of his stuff, maybe a show would have worked. I don't know. But I'm definitely gonna watch this. I'm definitely excited to see John Bernthal back as this character for sure. I mean, he's obviously a very highly respected comic book actor right now, and just as an actor in general. To be honest, he's in Christopher Nolan's new movie Odyssey coming out soon. So yeah, overall, I did a lot of talking for this, but overall, yeah, I'm excited to see this short film, this special presentation, whatever you want to call it. And I hope they do more for sure. Daniel, what are your thoughts on this special presentation?
Yeah, as you said, the Punisher character definitely intrigues me. Um, I have also seen on the only Daredevil up season one and two, and only I think I watched the first couple episodes of Punisher, so I know the baseline of the character, but I don't really know the character. And I think if the special just goes into depth about what this character is all about, I think that'd be a good idea. Should they possibly have reserved the special for some other character? Possibly. Personally, I did enjoy Echo, but I absolutely don't use this word that much, but despise She-Hulk
Hmm.
in lots of ways. Um, done some stuff that I would have personally never considered to do with Marvel, but that wasn't my decision. I am definitely not a writer. So these are all out of my hand. But yeah, the Punisher character is one of the most fascinating characters, and from what I've getting, pretty gritty. So I'm expecting something not a lighthearted show at all, something that will be dark and have your breath held every second of the show. That's what I'm about expecting for this. How about you, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely expect it to be dark and gritty. I mean, the Punisher. is a very dark character.
Yeah.
Here's where my concern level's at. I watched The Punisher in Daredevil season 2. I liked him there. I love his prison scenes with Fisk. Those are some of my favorite Daredevil scenes um, of all time. And even though he's only in a couple episodes of Daredevil Born Again, I thought he was just riveting every time he was on screen, and I thought John Bernthal gave a captivating performance in the role. My concern is that I remember watching the first couple episodes of the Punisher show and finding them kind of predictable and not that enjoyable, and not finding the character nearly as compelling as I did in the Daredevil series. And that's where my concern level is at with this Punisher TV special. I feel like the Punisher is a character who works so well in the Daredevil series because he and Matt Murdock are such fascinating contrasts of each other, because Frank Castle is about, if someone is evil, I am going to kill them and they deserve to get killed. Whereas Matt Murdock is like, if somebody is evil, I'll give them the beating that they deserve, but I'm not going to um, kill them. Matt Murdock has a no kill policy, which is the complete opposite
Right.
of
He's got
Frank
morals.
Castle. Yeah, and there's some scenes in Daredevil Born Again that really highlight the differences in Matt Murdock and Frank Castle's styles, and you see them have some arguments about their completely different values when it comes to killing versus not killing bad guys. So do I think that the Punisher TV special could be compelling? Yes, I think he's a compelling character. I think John Bernthal does a great job in the role. But my concern level is I feel like the Punisher might be a character who works better in the Daredevil series than on his own. And I've heard about him potentially being back for Daredevil season 2 as well. And if you're asking me, where would you rather see him again, Daredevil season 2 or his own special, I would say I would rather see him again in Daredevil Born Again season 2.
For sure, yeah. But I think the fact that I think it'll just be helpful to kind of see where the character is, and it will probably improve how he's seen or how much we enjoy seeing him in Born Again Season 2. So I think it's like a sort of a stepping stone special to kind of improve what's to come, you know?
Yep.
Also, something relating-ish to this Disney Plus, kind of. Um, I kind of wanted to talk about something that I mean is very very interesting, and that's the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and the Rocky Four director's cut, which are coming out later this year. I mean, I feel like you have the most thoughts to share on this. So, what are our thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean, I just found it interesting. So Fathom Entertainment, which I've read re-releases different iconic movies, is going to be re-releasing the Tobey Maguire, the three Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, as well as the Rocky Four director's cut. And I thought the re-release of these four films really provided a great opportunity just to kind of reflect on all of them and their place in pop culture lore. Because the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy and Rocky Four, these are some iconic movies that we're talking about here. And Spider-Man 2 is actually going to be, the re-release of Spider-Man 2 is actually going to be an extended version of the film, which I find very compelling. But I would just like to say that I think the first two Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies are as good of superhero films as can ever be made. I think they're not only perfect Spider-Man movies, I think they're perfect superhero movies. So I really want to take the time to give Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 their praises, not just in Spider-Man lore, but in superhero movie lore. And I would like to say this about Spider-Man 3. Could you make the argument it's overstuffed, overcrowded, with too much going on? Yes, but I was still able to enjoy it in spite
Yeah,
of
I was
that.
just about to say that.
Yeah, like, was there a bit too much going on? Yes, but I still really enjoyed the movie in spite of that. And I really encourage people who dislike Spider-Man 3, go back and give it another try. I know it's overcrowded, but I still think it's really well done. So Spider-Man 3 is definitely on my list of underrated superhero films. And then let me say this about Rocky 4. Does Rocky 4 have its flaws? Absolutely. But there are certain movies that are like that perfectly fit into the good bad movie category where you very much acknowledge their flaws but are still able to enjoy it nonetheless. That has always been my experience with Rocky 4 as Drago and in over the top villain. Yes, of course, but I was still able to enjoy Rocky 4 in spite of its flaws. And while I don't find the Rocky 4 director's cut bad, I definitely enjoy the original Rocky 4 over the director's cut. And I just kind of wonder, I'm not saying the original Rocky 4 doesn't have its flaws, but I feel like it's so iconic and so many people love it that I don't think Sylvester Stallone needed to come out with a Rocky 4 director's cut because I think people loved Rocky 4 in spite of its flaws. And let's take a moment to think about this. So, Fathom Entertainment is re releasing the Rocky 4 director's cut later this year. If audiences are given the option, if Rocky fans are given the option of choosing between seeing Rocky 4 or the Rocky 4 director's cut re released, do you really think they're going to choose the Rocky 4 director's cut? I just find it very, very fascinating. Like an extended version of Spider-Man 2 with like additional scenes, that I can understand. But a director's cut of a movie that's already so iconic, I just find it really strange that it's the Rocky 4 director's cut getting re-released and not the original movie itself, because I feel like fans, and me certainly, would much rather see that than the re-release of this Sylvester Stallone director's cut of the film.
For sure, but then you have to think about it. It kind of depends how they sort of market the director's cut here, because especially recently with some Zack Snyder stuff, I mean, it's kind of more in the case of Zack Snyder, but these movies, these director's cut can be marketed in a way that inclines audiences to see them because they say that they're new scenes, never before seen, and I think that alone will cause some people to go see the go see the director's cut, just because it would be more intriguing. But like I said, it all depends on how it's marketed, you know?
Yep.
So I also kind of wanted to touch on Spider-Man 3 because you mentioned it and I've kind of had I felt this way for a little bit. Only recently-ish, but at first obviously yes. I was mostly looking at the flaws for Spider-Man 3, which I feel like you have to look at flaws. There are flaws for sure. But change your point of view a little bit. Change your perspective. Maybe adjust what you think Sam Raimi was going for with this film. Not only is it ridiculous in sort of the best way possible, it's also really funny, and there were some awesome action scenes in here, which is weird to say, but yeah, there were some really stunning fight scenes. I mean, to point out the train scene with the Sandman and Spider-Man when he has the symbiote suit. And the symbiote suit, sure, the whole Venom subplot is kind of rushed and not completely well done, but it's fun to see. There are so many funny, campy lines in here. It's sort of the fun and the campiness of the first two really turned up to the max. And I find it a little bit weird why Sam Raimi thought that that would be a hit because he's clearly not taking it as seriously as he was before. And I feel like he kind of thought it was going to be better than it was. But then maybe he just got more control with this movie. Maybe the studio said, "Oh yeah, you've done very well for us for two movies in a row. We'll give you more creative control, more Final Cut privileges," and that just didn't quite go in their favor because any fan of the Evil Dead will know Sam Raimi has the potential to go crazy and cartoonish and wild. And sometimes that works very well, like with Evil Dead. Sometimes it's not exactly what the audience wants. But I think deep down, the audience at that time just wasn't ready for Spider-Man 3. I think, like Jaws 3, we should all take another look at Spider-Man 3, change our perspective just a little bit, and then I think we'll start to appreciate it just a little bit more. But Daniel, I mean, we haven't gotten to you yet, but what are your thoughts on these re-releases?
Um, yeah, the re-releases, I think I'm personally really excited for them. I haven't really seen all of the Amazing Spider-Mans, unfortunately. I have seen the first one, which is one of my favorite movies to of the Spider-Mans of all time. I think Tobey Maguire is very underrated. Um, but yeah, I seem to think you love him. I love him. And then director's cut, I'm with Will on this one. I am definitely would be way more interested to go see the full movie, even though sure it might have some new scenes in it, but I find the original, no matter what its flaws, no matter how much the villain is overstated, to put lightly, and yeah, I just seem to, it's just still one of my most enjoyable movies and fun time watches ever. I don't have much to say upon this area since I am not an expert in this area, so I'll just keep that short and go on to the next subject.
All right. So I also briefly wanted to touch on something that wasn't in our scheduled programming for today, but it's something that I am interested in breaking down here. Have any of you watched Eyes of Wakanda, the new Disney Plus TV show animated?
Only the first episode.
Daniel, what about you?
I have not gotten to that yet.
Will, was it good?
I didn't think it had that much to offer. How about you?
I haven't. I just. What then? Why? I don't get. I just don't get why Marvel would even bother releasing that. They did no marketing whatsoever. And that brings me to my next question. Anyone here watch Ironheart?
Yeah, I finally got around to finishing it the other night, and I thought it was an atrocity.
An atrocity, yes. So, it did introduce Mephisto, correct?
Yes, finally,
All right,
yes.
that's pretty cool. I mean, I saw that scene online just because, I mean, I literally was the only thing I could possibly be interested in. Um, and a favorite actor of mine, I don't know if you're familiar, but from he played Han Solo in the film Solo. Alden Ehrenreich was actually in the show. I watched the first episode and then got out of there because I did not like that show at all. Wasn't for me. But it's too bad that this was the Marvel project that he chose to be in, or he got picked to be in. But whatever. So once again, if there really wasn't a lot of promotion around Ironheart. There was the Robert Downey Jr. things, and that's it. RDJ would make little videos and they would post it, blah blah blah. Which awesome for him. Like that's super supportive of him to do. But yeah, it did feel a little bit like a little forced, a little PR type of deal. But Marvel, if you're not gonna promote the shows, and if you're not gonna make them good, then why even waste money making these shows? I don't. Not only do I know, like, Will, I think you're the only person I know who watched Ironheart, and most of my friends are Marvel fans. And you go online, you barely see anyone who's watched the show, and if they have watched it, they don't like it. I mean, I am the few who I only watched one episode, but I can't even find a person who's watched one episode. So I think now is a good time to just briefly comment on these TV shows again. I'm hoping, and I'd like everyone to give their theories on regarding this, but do we think that these are sort of just extras for Marvel? Do we think that, I mean, look at the movies that are coming out, they're supposed to be higher quality. Do you think that this was just excess stuff that they had and that they were going to do before this whole new plan of quality over quantity started? Daniel, do you think that this was just they had to get this out before moving forward, or do you think they're really passionate about this?
No, I don't know what Marvel's doing right now. In my opinion, they are going on a steep, steep slope downhill. I the last a lot of last stuff they've come out with, big screen, little screen, I have not been interested in. Ironheart, I haven't even touched episode. I am not one of the few who is very willing to watch it. I might at some point just to keep up with Marvel, but it will be a painful day when I do. Um, and yeah, the Wakanda Forever, at least I'm actually interested in the Black Panther stuff. So
True, yeah.
I I I am more lenient towards that, but still, animated, first of all, that they've never done anything really animated for Black Panther on Disney Plus or anything really on the big screen. So it's new. They didn't promote it, as you said. I honestly barely heard anything about it, so it's not really in the radar. I wouldn't say I'm very interested, but
For
it
sure.
is still a better look than Ironheart, which I think just the character should never have been created.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with you totally, Daniel. Will, do we think that these are extras and things that they just had to get out of the way before moving on?
I don't know about Eyes of Wakanda, but I think Ironheart could potentially be put into that category because I've heard that Ironheart finished filming a long time before it actually hit the
Oh,
screen.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
See, it
so I
sat on the shelf and they just had to shove it out on Disney Plus. Ugh,
yeah, I think that's what might have happened. And look, as much as I want to defend Marvel's small screen content, I just can't right now. I'm not going to give a final review of Eyes of Wakanda until I've seen all four episodes, but like just these recent shows. Now, I will give them credit. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, I didn't think it was a great show, but I was able to have fun watching it. Daredevil Born Again, I thought they had a brilliant final episode that set up the potential for a fantastic season two, but I also had to sit through a lot of mediocre episodes before finally getting to the final episode that was great. Now, I acknowledge that the new team behind Daredevil Born Again had to deal with stuff that had already been filmed before the show was overhauled. So the fact that they were able to even come in and right the ship like they did, I think is a massive accomplishment. But even though I think season two will be fantastic, you can't deny that the episodes prior to the finale of Daredevil Born Again were just not nearly on the level of the original series. And then Ironheart might be my second least favorite Marvel show ever after She-Hulk. I will never hate anything as much as I hated She-Hulk, especially for
wow.
what they did to Daredevil. But I think Ironheart was just a horrible show. I can't think of one redeemable thing about it. I think Robert Downey Jr., putting his, energy behind it and promoting it and championing Dominic Thorne, fantastic. Love RDJ for that. But the show itself, I thought was just an atrocity. I didn't find anything redeemable about it. I thought the characters were non-believable and horribly written. I didn't find Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, even really that much of a likable character. So I just, as much now, I will say this: I am really looking forward to Daredevil Born Again season two. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I could see myself having fun watching Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man season two in spite of its flaws. But aside from that, I am just down on Marvel small screen content. I have seen too much, whether it's Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, now Ironheart. I have seen some bad, bad, bad stuff from Marvel on the small screen. And unfortunately, Ironheart was just the latest excuse. And as much as I want to say that I think Eyes of Wakanda is gonna turn itself around after the episode that I've seen. I just have a hard time believing that.
I'm in agreement with you. And like you said, Daniel, I am interested in Eyes of Wakanda, so I'll probably watch an episode, especially because it's only, what, 4 episodes, so
Yeah.
I may take a look into that. But with that, that'll do it for this episode of the Everything Podcast. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. And I say that I've said this before about other guests we've had, but if you look back on other appearances on the podcast, you can just see the improvement and how stuff is broken down. How because not everyone knows how to really talk on a podcast, but Daniel, much. I mean, not that you were bad or anything beforehand, but very impressive how you're just able to talk on the podcast after only being on once, right? So yeah, very impressive stuff there. Thank you so much for joining, and you'd be welcome back anytime, Daniel. Will, thank you for inviting Daniel on, and thanks for joining me as always. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of the Everything Podcast, and we'll see you next time.